This episode of the podcast is brought to you by patreon.com/lightscameranonsense. Visit patreon.com/lightscameranonsense to help support your favorite new movie podcast. Now, let's roll that reel.
And we are now recording. Quick clap sync for me there. Yeah, do a little weird dance there. Dance, monkey. Dance, monkey.
I knew this would be my line.
Was just recording a movie podcast and do little claps right before.
Yes.
That's your purpose.
Nothing that comes after even matters. You know, it's just that little bit will live on in eternity.
Don't tell your wife.
Gosh, she's seen way worse.
I don't even want to know. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lights, Camera, Nonsense. Wow, I need to start that over. I went into that with way more energy than I should have had.
Why?
I don't know. I should have all the energy in the world. So, it's been a minute. These last 2 weeks have been the longest 2 weeks of all time for me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that tracks. I feel like every last 2 weeks has been the longest last 2 weeks of all time.
Oh, that's true.
Is that tweet I saw that was like, in quotes, it's fine. It's been a weird week. Me for the last 44 weeks straight.
I think 2021 so far has been better overall than 2020 so far. But again, like 2020, the shit part of that year didn't start until like the end of March.
Yeah.
So we still have a little bit.
Technically we're still in the fiscal year of 2021.
Of
2020.
Yeah, that's true. I did finish my taxes already, though. I'm just like...
Hey, me too.
Yeah,
High five.
I just...
Nice.
Tax guys.
Don't use that as a sync test.
Will not. Actually, you're editing this time, so...
That's true, yeah. That was an internal memo that I said out loud.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lights, Camera, Nonsense, where we give you all the latest movie magic you may have missed. I'm Nick, still struggling with the fact that it's 2021 Simmons.
And I'm Zach. Why do we put so much emphasis on years anyway, Smith?
Oh, really? It's essential about this. And on January 30th, the end of the first month, Zach, let's log into the previews, or let's roll into the previews.
Log in?
We're logging in. We're jacking in, man.
This is like Y2K all over again.
Zach, what have you been watching?
So I actually only watched a few things this go around. I was in a weird mood these last 2 weeks, so instead of, watching things of, true substance, quote unquote, I spent most of my time watching like build videos on YouTube and Minecraft and Planet Coaster, and then playing through Civ for like 80 hours straight.
I'm the creative type. I no longer want to play any of these Call of Duties. I just want to build stuff, and I want to be a dad with 3 kids that I can't handle, that I just want to just shove off to the side so I can play Civ for a good weekend.
I think it's funny that you interpret that as me eschewing my Call of Duty roots when I don't play Call of Duty. We played Warzone, like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I haven't played any of this. This is what I legitimately said to you, Nick. I don't know if you remember or if this still haunts you in your dreams.
Every night.
I said to you that at the time, Warzone was the first and only Battle Royale game that I had ever played.
And the fact that you call it Battle Royale and not Battle Royale is what should be
Well,
a
I'm
good
not talking about the
people.
fucking... Well, I'm not talking about the fucking movie, am I?
No, but that's what they're called. They're called Battle Royales, not Battle Royals.
No,
because you're not fighting off kings. It's not regicide left and right every game. No,
it's the wrestling match type.
Yes, exactly. It's 50 may enter, one will leave.
That's Royal Rumble, sir. That is a extreme version of the Battle Royal.
Royale Rumble.
Royale with cheese.
This is not a video game podcast, Zach, as much as you want it to be. What did you watch?
I'll have to say what I actually did watch. First up, I watched. They are still calling it part of the first season, but to me, it's just the second season of Looney Tunes on HBO Max. I watched about half of that. That still continues to be terrifying and grotesque and Cthulhu-esque at times. And
Cthulhu-esque.
No, for real. Yeah. I do this every time. I usually go in depth at least one skit, and usually it's of course a Sylvester and Tweety skit for some reason. Those dudes are just fucking violent as fuck. Yeah, in one of the episodes, Sylvester eats Tweety, but Tweety is in the stomach of Sylvester, and he's like, "Oh, hey, these are my new digs because Granny and I were gonna move to Florida tomorrow." So I guess we're in Florida because that's where he woke up. He woke up in the stomach, and then he starts like fixing the place up. The place being again Sylvester's stomach, putting couches and shit in there. And at one point,
so he leaves and then comes back.
No, he's just in the stomach. Sylvester eats him, and he's like living in his stomach. He hasn't been digested yet, right? He's just kind of walking around, like punching his heart and shit. There's literally a point where he punches his heart because he's like, "Oh, cool! It comes with a gym." And then he's like decorating the place. So he's like going on Amazon and buying like couches and tables and shit. And the delivery guy comes and stands in front of Sylvester. He's like, "Hey, delivery," and Sylvester's like, "I didn't order shit." Delivery guy's like, "Yeah, it's going to your stomach, my man." And the dude pries open his mouth, it climbs into his head, goes down, gets a signature from Tweety, and the next thing you see is just like a full ass living room in Sylvester's stomach.
Does he shit out the delivery guy? Or does he come back out?
No, he comes back out. The delivery guy goes in forward, and then after he's done, comes back out backwards.
Oh my god.
And
it's horrific.
Yeah, there's another point where Tweety's walking around and he sees Sylvester's ribcage, and he's like, "Oh, this doesn't do well for me. I don't like this decoration." And he proceeds to pull the ribcage away from his intestine, snaps the ribcage, and then it just like fucking crumbles. I'm telling you, this shit is not meant for kids.
How long is this whole sketch?
It's like 10 minutes.
Dear
so
Lord.
All this shit is just back to back to back. It's horrifying.
I mean, kids are like, what is a kid supposed to get from this episode? Like, oh yeah, you could do whatever you want with your inside. You could treat your insides as.
I don't think they're supposed to get any. I mean, it's funny in a dark way, because obviously Sylvester's not coughing up blood or anything. And going into shock.
Yeah, because he would have died of like a heart attack as soon as Tweety punched him in the heart.
Yeah.
Not to mention he's like 60 years old at this point.
Yeah, a lot of times this new Looney Tunes verges on, I feel like, Happy Tree Friends territory. Oh, yeah. It's kind of fucking wild. And I grew up watching the old Looney Tunes, and I don't remember anything as graphic as this shit.
Yeah.
And I know when they were first talking about doing the revamp, they were saying, "Oh, there's not going to be any guns." Of course, all the fucking boomers and shit are like, "Oh no, they're taking away the guns, the liberals.
They're taking away the cartoon guns for my cat and my bird."
Oh, it's ridiculous. This shit is like 20 times as violent as anything in that old cartoon, and that's without firearms. So, that's going well, or about as well as you could expect it to. And then I also watched, in a fit of I'm resting on this little fucking visual here on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And it's a short thing, so I'm gonna hit play and see what happens. It's Pixar popcorn shorts, and it's a collection of 10 shorts, all under 2 minutes, some even under a minute, and they just vary from character to character in just random situations. It's completely pointless unless you watch. There's one of the shorts with Bunny and Ducky from Toy Story 4, which is of course
Key and Peele.
Key and Peele, thank you.
Yeah.
And it's like the only. I think one of three that are actually voiced. The other one of the three, or the second one of the three, being another Bunny and Ducky short. So I don't know why Key and Peele were the only ones that they could get to do this shit, but because it's Key and Peele, it's it's funny.
Yeah.
Everything else is just like random bullshit. There's like a fucking dance off in the Cars world, and I already don't like Cars, so I think at one point I put that one on mute because I was talking to someone in the middle of it, and I was like, yeah, I don't need to.
And then it's over by the time you unmute it.
Yeah. So completely pointless. If you see that floating around, there's no reason to watch it. If you're gonna watch a short film or a short, there's plenty of other shorts on Disney Plus, like all the Pixar shorts that are phenomenal. And then I talked about it a little while ago. Netflix has Canvas as well as a couple other shorts on the service as well.
On animation. Animated shorts.
That are much better and purposeful.
Now, let me ask you this, because I noticed this with our discussion of Marvel Legends and our discussion now with all of these super short shorts.
Yeah.
Do you see the point behind them? Like with such short content being on a digital streaming platform, instead of it being on, say, their social media, like just using it as social media, or using it to promote their next film or next universe, what have you. Like, what is the point of putting this and kind of... I don't know. It feels like whenever we talk about Steam and there being shovelware on that platform, the video game platform, there just being all of this extra content just to make it feel like there's plenty of content. Do you feel like that kind of waters down all of the rest of it? It kind of drags everything else down, in my opinion.
I don't know if I would go that far, but I do certainly agree with the idea that it's quantity for quantity's sake. The Legends thing is kind of like, to me, that smacks of, we have been touting Marvel shows forever now, and because of the pandemic, it's taken forever to actually get the first one out the door. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this fluff thing that can expand our Marvel portfolio on Disney Plus without having to worry about like doing anything extra for it. Like, it's, again, we talked about it last time. It's a YouTube clip show.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. For the Pixar, these popcorn shorts or whatever that amount to basically nothing, I could feasibly see this being entertaining to a child, right? Like, it's just there's again nothing of consequence, nothing is happening. They're just like fun little shorts in which barely anyone talks, so they're more invested in the action of what's going on. Like, one of them, Buzz Lightyear, is doing an aerobics class, it's that kind of stuff. So you could feasibly look at that. You could also look at it like our animators did this stuff in their free time, or as like, it almost kind of feels like a college final or something, like,
yeah.
Not that you're already employed by Pixar, so you don't need to have a final, obviously, but it's like, I don't know, I could feasibly see like, well, we don't have something to work on right now, like, this is what we're going to do in our short time, or like, we need something to fill out the portfolio on Disney Plus. I can ram these through, and like, because you guys are great at what you do anyways, and you can finish this in like a week.
I suppose it's really more to say, hey, here's where you could see these characters and fill in the gaps in between Toy Story 4 and Toy Story 5, for example.
Sure, yeah. I mean, like, they're not even that deep. They're like,
but yeah, but because they're so short. And even if you're playing these on, auto shuffle or whatever, you're playing through the whole playlist for your kids. They only have a handful of them so far, and it's going to be entertaining for 10 minutes altogether?
Yeah, something like that. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's actually 9 episodes, but for some reason they did this weird thing with the listing where they have the 1 through 9 episodes, and then the 10th episode is a play all episode, but they have a play all button in the app, so I'm not quite sure what purpose that serves.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a conflict of, or not a conflict, but a lack of communication between the UI director or whoever's in charge of that. And
quite frankly, I doubt they really expect anyone to have that much oversight on it. Like, I wasn't gonna watch it because I felt like, oh, there's probably some good stuff in here. I was just like, I don't want to move at all. This is where my cursor is at. My brain is fluctuating in a way where it wants as minimal input as possible. So I'm just gonna hit the X button right here, and then we'll see what happens. I seriously doubt whoever was lead on the project was like, well, what if they see that the last episode is just play all, and we already have a play all button on there? You know, it's not worth that effort. It was probably like just a quick turnaround thing.
I guess. Yeah. I can definitely see the argument to having them separated too, in case you have a favorite that you want to show.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Anyway, what else have you watched?
So moving on from that, the other non-feature thing that I watched, I guess. Of course, I watched the last 2 episodes of WandaVision, so episodes 3 and 4.
Nice, me too.
Still great so far, and with the fourth episode, we kind of get more into that MCU actual. You know, like you feel more familiar with a little bit what's going on. The episode title itself is called "We Interrupt Our Regularly Scheduled Programming." So, regularly scheduled programming being the last 3 weird ass fucking sitcom episodes.
The reality that we've been watching.
Yes. I do want to say, however, I feel like I might regret recommending this to people who are not generally MCU fans or comic book fans in general, because the way it started out was like I could foresee this mystery being the through line through to the end and not getting really any answers until the end. And it seems like what's actually happening is, while the through line is still definitely the mystery, they are peppering in like some, like I said, more typical Marvel stuff as we're going along, it seems.
Yeah.
Now, granted, maybe this is just a little blip in the season as a whole. Yeah.
For people who
who watched the 4th episode, yes. By the way, it's just a very minor thing. I don't even really think it spoils anything, but the fucking opening to episode 4, did that just make you super fucking uneasy and tense out of the gate? Yeah. I
think because of where it takes place, I think if it was just somebody in their home when it happened, it would be something different. But because it takes place in a hospital with everything already being chaotic, and you know the reality that we face right now in the real world and how people in hospitals probably are right now, it's like it's already chaotic. People are thinking chaotic things when they think about hospitals, but in the grander scheme of the universe, and basically telling the people who are watching the show where and when this takes place in the greater scale of the Marvel universe.
It's like such a minor thing right up front, but obviously if you're aware of what's happening, then you're like, oh fuck, this tone just got wildly different and dark.
I thought I was watching a sitcom, damn it.
Yeah, okay, so just to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, you get a glimpse into a portion of the reappearing of people after they vanished from Thanos' snap or the blip. Mm-hmm. And we kind of haven't really seen anything other than like a few moments in Far From Home, like the band showing up in the basketball game, which is funny, right? But then you, like, of course your mind goes to, well, what about those not very funny moments where everything's coming back, and like, what the fuck is that like? And this is one of those not very funny moments where all those things are returning. Very tense, very hard open.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still enjoying it, regardless of whether or not I might have steered some people improperly. Thinking like,
this was a weird first suggestion for the
well,
an entry
like,
into the Marvel universe, I suppose.
so I didn't even really wasn't considering it as an entry. I was just looking at it like, if you really have no interest in anything other than Marvel, those 3 episodes, they felt very, of course, I said it last time, you know, we had a discussion on it, felt very Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
So if you like something like that, of those 3 episodes, that felt like, this is not your typical MCU fare. I think you're fairly safe with, you know, sticking this one out through the end and seeing if you like it or not. But what it has seemed to end up happening is a trick of sorts. So,
very much so. And
yeah.
I think because we know of certain actors being in certain future MCU films, how much that this is going to tie to the future of the MCU just in general. And
which up front, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and the fact that they bring in not 1, not 2, but 3 different side characters from previous franchises in this universe. Like you bring back, I'll just go ahead and say, you bring back Darcy, Agent Wu, and who else? Who was a third person?
I mean, they have.
Oh, and Monica. I mean, Monica
yeah.
Rambeau. Yeah, her future self being
Yeah.
taking place in this series. So it's really interesting to see where they take it from here.
Yes.
Seeing how the end of episode 4 ends, painting a certain character in a certain light. And I'm very interested to see where it goes.
Yes, yeah, and they bookend it on a very like similar tone to how it starts too. It's like, oh fuck, I'm very uncomfortable right now.
This is a
which
dark
is cool.
show.
Yeah, it is. You know, and it's my mistake not taking the literal statement of everything will be connected at face value. So I should have known, of course.
What's weird, even at the end of episode 4, when the credits started rolling, I was like, I guessed everything that they revealed in this episode.
Yeah.
I still enjoyed it fully and thoroughly. Like everything that happened that they revealed in this in episode 4, I just felt like didn't come out of left field for me.
Yeah.
Just because I have a general background with the comics, with the movies, with just in general. But basically, to wrap up our discussion for this, even if it doesn't surprise me, even if it doesn't really shock me at this point, I'm still excited to see where it goes because they can literally take it anywhere.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, we're like, you know, kind of weirdly halfway through the season at this point. So, you know, there's plenty of room to have more quote unquote twists. Yeah, I would agree that pretty much everything up to this point hasn't been like, nothing revealed has been like, oh my gosh, you know, it's more confirmation of what we already thought going into it. But yeah, they have a lot of room to work with. So yeah, exactly. I'm very excited to see where it's going because I am thoroughly enjoying it so far.
Nice.
And then the last thing I watched was a little oddity, as it were, called In and of Itself.
Oh, okay. I actually forgot to write down that that's something that I watched. Which is odd considering the context, but go ahead. Sorry.
So In and of Itself is very difficult to describe. It's on Hulu, and it's at least the version that's on Hulu is an adaptation or a filming of the stage play,
right?
From Derek Delgadio, I believe is how you pronounce his name. And I say it's hard to explain because I feel like trying to explain it does a disservice to it. Just trying to kind of keep it at the base level. It's a stage play / kind of allegory poem /
one man performance
magic show.
Oh, I have the blurb on IMDb here.
Sure, yeah, you can go.
It says storyteller and conceptual magician Derek Delgadio attempts to understand the illusionary. It's just a weird word.
It is.
It's a weird word. All right, fucking stop laughing, listener. Derek
Good
Delgado attempts to understand the illusory nature of identity and answered the deceptively simple question, who am I?
Yeah, and I think it's fair to leave it at that because, like I said, I think going further into it really does a disservice. And because it's so hard to really get into unless you have seen it, it's hard to recommend, right? Like, because most of the time when you recommend something to someone and they go, "Oh, why should I watch that?" Well, if I tell you why you should watch it, then like it's one of those things where I feel like what you get out of it is how much you put in,
right?
And knowing more about it before going into that
takes away from
it.
Yeah.
So initially, when you actually recommended this to me, like a week or so before it dropped, and I had never even heard of it. So when I kind of did a very brief look up, I just kind of saw, oh, it's like a half magic show, half TED Talk sort of thing, which is a gross reductionism way of putting it. But I had my reservations going in because I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. But I will say it's very poignant. It serves a definite purpose. I've seen some people being like, it's going to change your life. And I think that is on the opposite end of doing a disservice to it.
Yeah.
It's like overhype. And I don't necessarily agree that it's going to change your life. I don't think anything it espouses is particularly like game changing or anything. It's just more of like confirmation, I think. At least for me.
I think... Just as a quick aside, I think that overhyping it or underhyping it takes away from the overall experience in and of itself, ironically. Yes. But it's one of those films that as soon as I finished watching it, I was able to it made me think. It's one of those things that like I went into it with absolutely no expectations. Like I had watched the trailer, and that's when I showed it to you and recommended it to you. And then when it finally dropped, I'm like, you need to watch this. I knew that I wasn't necessarily overhyping it or underhyping it. I was just saying this is something that I think you need to watch to quote unquote experience.
Yeah. And I'd definitely say that's a good way of kind of framing it. It's just like if you're open to questions, then like, and it never really gives you an answer per se. Like it kind of is like, hey, this is my thesis by the end of it.
Yeah.
But the conclusions you draw from it are going to be your own conclusions, which I think is where it really succeeds. But all that to say, in a very roundabout, skirt the surface sort of way, I did enjoy it. I'd say if you are curious and have time, it's like an hour and a half. It's not very long.
No, it's not.
And it's very well paced too. It does not overstay its welcome at all. I'd say sit down, give it a shot, and just keep an open mind.
Instead of watching the next Michael Bay film, give yourself, feel a little educated. Every once in a while, somebody walks into a bookstore and they're like, I don't know what kind of book I want to pick up and read. I don't like reading. Just pick up the first book that you think might sound interesting to you, and then sit down and read it. This is something that normally would have just totally passed me by, but because I watched the trailer and it intrigued me, and I decided to press play as soon as I saw that it dropped. And there were some certain celebrities that I follow that said, you need to watch this. Yeah. I mean, it's produced by Stephen Colbert. I'm like, all right, I'll listen to the guy.
Colbert, yeah. And then it's very interesting. I would an interview with Delgado after this because... I'm just curious of like what kind of person is he. I will also say real quick, don't bother too much about like figuring out the magic in this, quote unquote. You're not gonna, and it's not the point. Just kind of like go along for the ride. But I was reading this interview, and everything he does in this is very purposeful. The whole show has an impact that it's striving to get across, and we've both said it a couple times, and I actually think I want to correct it a little bit because we've said that it's educational. I'm not sure if that's the correct word for it. I think like connecting or like reaffirming is a better way to phrase it. It's a show that can tell someone that they're not alone, right? Like there's a general statement from it of like an overall feeling for people, which is why it's interesting. And again, why based on who you are, you're going to get your own conclusions as opposed to me or Nick. You know, it's it's a impersonal experience just by virtue of being on Hulu of all places, with personal outcome, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I've never had the opportunity to go to Broadway and watch a Broadway play, or watch even something like this where it's someone standing on a stage and telling a story or giving a one-man performance. Yeah. It's not something I normally do, so I was stepping outside of my comfort zone when I was sitting down to watch this. But because it was such a personal thesis that, again, is not really necessarily educational, but is really trying to propose a thought, propose a question, just like what I said. He's trying to answer the deceptively simple question of who am I? And as big-brained as most people probably think that would be, it's actually very simple, and the way that he is able to visualize it with his performance, I think is very transformative. And so I highly recommend people go check this out. Derek Delgadio's In and of Itself on Hulu.
And then that is it for me, sir. So with all that being said, what did you watch?
Sir, I got so fucking busy. I'm sorry I called you sir.
So yeah, you can call me sir. It gives me like an air of professionalism with my graphic t-shirt.
Straighten up that tie. Put on a top hat, you know? Feel so fancy. Yeah.
Haven't had a haircut in almost a year, but yeah, I'm a professional.
Weird. Fucking homeless gentleman over here. That's your new nickname, homeless gentleman.
Nice. Yeah, that's going to be my handle from now on. Do away with Full Metal Z. Just
there you go.
From now on, homeless gentleman.
So homeless gentleman. I was pretty busy. I stuck mostly to Netflix, although I did watch two of the shows that you had already mentioned, which was WandaVision and In and of Itself. But I was able to watch Outside the Wire, starring Anthony Mackie. And actually, let me pull that up, Outside the Wire, because the main star is someone I did not recognize. Anthony Mackie and Damson Idris. Also stars Michael Kelly, Pilo Eisbeck from Game of Thrones, and Emily Beecham. It's really weird because this seems like a very stereotypical action army, takes place overseas, but it's set in a science fiction future where there are drone robots who take the place of soldiers. And we follow the story of a drone pilot, like a normal drone, that will drop off bombs overseas while they're over in Arizona with a control stick and a computer. And it basically tells the story of this drone pilot, and after he makes a mistake and ends up killing a platoon of soldiers trying to save them, he's sent overseas to basically deal with the ramifications of his decisions by being on the front lines. And he's assigned to this mysterious military captain played by Anthony Mackie, who turns out to be a robot himself. And so they go on this mission to stop a terrorist from destroying the world. And there are some twists and turns that you don't really expect, because when I thought I was near the end of the film, turns out there's that last sharp left, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. I thought that the story itself, I thought that the acting was well done. I thought the special effects were fantastic. Very, reminds me of like District 9, kind of that kind of dirty future.
Yeah.
But of course, I mean, it takes place on the front lines, and I really liked the story. I thought that a lot of the dialogue between and the interactions between Damson Idris and Anthony Mackie were kind of a little wooden. But other than that, I think the action choreography, like, because Anthony Mackie is a robot super soldier, he can perform some excellent Call of Duty Warzone type stunts where he's like just 360 no scoping people, and it's I thought it was really fun. So I highly recommend it if you want to check it out. I think that the way that they portray the military in it, of course, is actually really authentic as well. So there's that. That's on Netflix. The next film that I watched was Boss Level, which was also very strange.
Oh, this sounds familiar. It was vaguely familiar.
I had to hit disambiguation on Wikipedia because, of course,
always a good sign.
It's directed by Joe Carnahan, who directed The A-Team, and what else? Smokin' Aces 2, Assassin's Ball, and Narc and Smokin' Aces. So he's known for action. He's known for action films. He wrote Death Wish, Bad Boys for Life. He directed The Gray, that kind of stuff. He was going to do the Daredevil reboot film that was going to be set in like the 70s and stuff. Anyway, moving on. It stars Frank Grillo, Mel Gibson, Naomi Watts, and Michelle Yeoh.
Dang.
Yeah.
Pretty stacked cast.
Yeah. Will Sasso, Annabelle Wallace, Rob Gronkowski, Ken Jeong. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Quentin Jackson.
Hold on. That dude's career trajectory is just all over the fucking place. Footballer, WWE star, actor.
He's the Gronk, man. He can do whatever he wants. That's not. It's just Gronk. But it basically is a weird Groundhog Day meets Crank type of film where Frank Grillo, and it's played absolutely up to 11 and for laughs. Like the special effects is he's blown out of a window, but he survives that, but then he dies from something even stupider, kind of thing. He basically wakes up every morning, and he's already died like 100 times by the time the film starts, and he's used to this routine, and he's killing these assassins. He doesn't know why they're after him. He finds out that Mel Gibson's the bad. It's very, very just cheesy, bottom of the line, like, what the fuck is this story even kind of thing. Like, Naomi Watts is his wife, who is dead but is not really dead because he can save her if he gets in time. And Mel Gibson's the bad guy, but like, of course he dies like 20 times after he's able to figure out the routine of like, all right, this samurai assassin woman's gonna come down here and like chop my head off, but I can, if I train with Michelle Yeoh for 50 deaths, then I'm now a samurai master. Like, it's one of those films, and it is so. Oh,
it's a good sign.
Do you enjoy films like Crank or Gamer or any of the films done by those guys?
Nobody enjoyed a film like Gamer.
Yeah, it's not a good film.
Crank at the time, I think I enjoyed. It's been forever. I like it's a dumbass, totally stupid movie, but like
that's essentially what this is.
I think I enjoyed it.
Like the every emotion that you're supposed to be feeling throughout watching this film is just like who cares? I mean, Frank Grillo is a great actor. I think everyone in this is a great actor. They have the potential to act phenomenally. I don't know why Naomi Watts is in this. That's the weirdest casting choice. Mel Gibson has been in a dime a dozen action films over the last 2 decades. And Frank Grillo, notwithstanding, I mean,
so like it's played for like being this is dumb as shit, but it's fun. Like,
yeah, it's a fun action film.
It's not trying to be serious, right? Like,
no,
okay,
I mean, no. As much as it's weird because it'll take moments because he also has a son, and he finds out that his son dies every single time that he didn't save them. Like all the way up until a certain point. I'm spoiling the movie, but to be fair, it's not coming out until March 5th on Hulu. So give it time. But it's a fun action film. It's just a lot of the special effects are not great, and a lot of the acting is not great, and the writing is not great. But Rob Gronkowski, so there you go, football star.
How big is the Groundhog Day genre at this point?
So big. Okay,
it's ridiculous, right? Like, now we're getting into the point. I mean, where it's just like the main
The action
genre.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, the main genre, and then from there you have your offshoot subgenres. So
Yeah.
Palm Springs, you got your rom-com Groundhog Day. And Edge of Tomorrow, you got your sci-fi Groundhog Day, which granted that was a manga before, but
Yeah.
it's just funny that like these things always are cyclical,
I think like it's such a it was originally titled Continue for 20th Century Fox and described as Groundhog Day as an action movie.
It's a pretty good. I mean, I will say, fucking Boss Level. That's a pretty good.
It's a cool
name.
title. Like it's better than Continue
as well. Is it in any way
video gamey?
Video gaming?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no reason to equate it to video games whatsoever. Well, actually, that's not true because his son plays games, and that's how he, like he finds him in an underground arcade, which I want now. Underground arcades. Why is that not more of a thing? I mean,
like an underground Flynn's, right?
Yeah, basically. It's like, and they have like these retro like fighter tournaments, and that's where he connects with his son by playing Street Fighter with him.
God, like you're saying words, and literally everything you're saying is like, oh, you mean like blank.
Yeah.
Like you said robot fighters, and I'm like, and son, and I'm thinking, oh, you mean like Real Steel.
Yeah.
Starring Hugh Jackman.
I guess we could pull that as a great influence for this film, but I mean, yeah, it's weird. It's again not coming out till March 5th on Hulu, but it was good. I only fell asleep watching it 2 times. So,
Hey.
Moving on to the next 2 films. All right, and I'll be really quick with these, although they're the biggest things that I watched. So, Finding Ohana on Netflix actually dropped yesterday, and it's this great Goonies kind of send-up / heartwarming family film about this young girl who was living in New York with her mom and brother, but they have to come back to their native home of Hawaii, even though she just won a competition to go to the Catskills, and she's so upset that she can't go to the Catskills in fucking New York, but has to go back to Hawaii. Oh, boo-hoo, I have to go live in Hawaii. It threw me off at first. Like, that's the first 5 minutes. She's like playing with her friends in New York City, and they're like really great treasure hunters, and she really loves treasure hunting and stuff like that. And then she wins a competition to go to the Catskills, and all of a sudden she has to go to Hawaii to visit her grandpa because he's behind on his bills and shit. And her mom is like, "Oh, we need to help pay for his bill." Sound familiar?
It sounds like
because then she finds a book / treasure map. And they go off on an adventure in a mountain to help pay off her grandpa's bills so that they can afford their house.
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar?
A little bit.
Like a 1980s classic Steven Spielberg film?
Yeah. Well, mixed with Willy Wonka.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's a very classic premise. But it also stars Short Round, the actor who played Short Round in Raiders.
Who was also in Goonies.
He's in Finding Ohana as the grandpa's friend. But anyway, it's a really heartwarming and endearing film that I enjoy it, although it seems like a totally realistic movie all the way up until near the end when there's some fantastical elements that come into play. But by that point, I was fully invested, and it was also 2 hours later. So it was heartwarming and enjoyable, and I learned some Hawaiian words. So mahalo.
Mahalo.
Moving on, I watched The Little Things, starring Denzel Washington and Rami Malek and Jared Leto.
This just dropped on HBO Max.
Yes, and in theaters. But yes,
the second one, I believe, of the slate of Warner movies that are releasing simultaneously in theaters and HBO Max.
So, actually, let me pull this up because it was directed by John Lee Hancock, who you may recognize as the guy who directs the movies that all start with the word "the." Hold on. The Little Things. Really should have set this up better. Oh, no.
Yeah. We're not paid for that.
So John Lee Hancock, not including Saving Mr. Banks, which he directed, but did
Yeah,
not
that's a
write.
good movie.
It is a good movie. He also directed The Founder, The Highwaymen, The Blind Side, The Rookie, The Alamo, and The Little Things.
Yeah, those are all a lot of articles.
Yes.
A lot of the same article.
It's true. It's true. Snow White and The Huntsman. He actually wrote that.
You're like saving Mr. Banks, the.
Midnight in The Garden of Good and Evil. He also wrote that.
It's like some fucking Facebook bullshit. It's like you call it the saving of Mr. Banks. Drop the. Just saving Mr. Banks.
Saving Mr. Banks. It's easier. But The Little Things stars Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, Jared Leto, and basically takes place in the early 90s, where Denzel Washington now works in kind of, what is it, Kern County, California, which is kind of up north, after being not necessarily mysteriously, but he leaves the LA Sheriff's Department for specific reasons, and when he comes back to help solve a similar case, he ends up getting embroiled in this murder mystery that is led by Rami Malek, who's like this hotshot detective out to solve crimes, and he basically took the place
Is that what
of
he does
Denzel
every time he comes in? Hey, I'm a hotshot detective.
Yeah. That's what LA cops do, right?
I mean,
okay.
oh,
All right. Well, hold on. I don't think we could shout that far from Texas. All right. Anyway, and Denzel Washington basically kind of tags along, and they try to uncover the mystery of why all of these women are being brutally murdered in specific ways, and it's very Night Stalker-y. And they even reference the Night Stalker in this film, but it turns out that there's more to Denzel Washington's character and how he affects Rami Malek's perception of how to solve the crime. Because Denzel Washington is he's known for being a great crime solver, but because of a specific crime that he was trying to solve back when he worked for the LA Sheriff's Department, he basically gets ousted and people hate him.
Yeah, it's a very common detective noir type setup. Like, I was gonna break the biggest case of my life, and then something happened, and now I'm on desk duty for the last 20 years. Or
And you know what's funny is the original script was written by John Lee Hancock back in 1993.
Oh wow!
And
there were that one for a while.
There were a lot of directors who were attached to direct this film, but it kept rolling over into development hell. A lot of from what I've been seeing of the reviews, I enjoyed the film. I actually thought it was really well directed, really well paced. The ending is one of those things that you have to sit and think about. It's not cut and dry. But a lot of people have been saying that it's boring and it's too similar to all of these other crime films. I'm like, this. If you think about the fact that it was written back in 1993.
Yeah,
and had all of the it's like Steven Spielberg was originally attached to direct this film, which was interesting to find out.
Yeah.
But you definitely get this film noir tone of Seven or Prisoners or
Prisoners was so good.
I got feelings of Prisoners during specific moments of this film because Jared Leto does. He's the best part of this film. And I think it's because he is not necessarily method, but because of his performance just overall. He plays a serial killer so well, which is not shocking to anyone, I think.
It's when we find out that all his shit on the set of Suicide Squad was method acting for the different movie.
Like 5 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's a very slow burn. Most film noirs are.
Yeah. Prisoners is like 3 hours, and I remember when that dropped, and films always cater to different subset of people depending on what they are. There are people who walk out of a Godzilla movie going, either A, that was boring and stupid, or B, that was stupid and so fucking cool. You know, and it just applies to every genre. You're gonna have your detractors and the people who love it all the time.
I think the people who set expectations for when certain actors are involved in certain movies, they're like, oh, this is gonna be great because Denzel Washington was in The Equalizer. I'm like, oh, it's not The Equalizer. It's a different kind of film. People set expectations based on directors or writers or the actors involved, and I think that's foolish. But everyone, Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, Jared Leto, all involved are phenomenal. I'm biased towards Rami Malek just because I'm a huge fan of Mr. Robot and most of his films, Night at the Museum notwithstanding. But I think it's great.
Night at the Museum?
Yeah, he was the Pharaoh.
God, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah. So I highly recommend it if you're into film noir, detective, hard-boiled mysteries. And I really think that as soon as it starts rolling credits, I would love to know people's reactions to the ending. Nice. This is one of those movies where I'd like to hear about that. So
some water cooler discussions.
Yeah, some like, ooh, what do you think that means? Because it's one of those. It's one of those ones where it makes you sit and think after. It's like it's a Gone Baby Gone, it's a Seven, it's a Prisoners type of ambiguous kind of ending. So anyway, that all of which to say, you know, that was all very interesting. That's all that I watched. I was very busy.
Nice. Well, sounds like you had a good time. Overall, yeah.
Zach, let's go ahead and dive into the news.
All right, so we do have
news. Sorry.
Damn.
My neighbor's.
That's gotta be like our Wilhelm scream from now on.
I like it.
Yeah, I got a fair bit of news this go around. That being said, a lot of it, unfortunately, is delays. Wow. Yeah. We'll start off with first, the Snyder Cut has officially gotten a release date of March 18th. So if you're counting down the days, March 18th is that day for you.
You know, okay, so I threw out my voice.
Yeah, you fucked up your throat on that one.
So sorry. Sorry, listeners. You know what's weird is the closer and closer we get to the release of this, the less I care. Like I was actually excited for this Zack Snyder Justice League cut when they announced it. And because I've watched the movies. You don't give a shit because you haven't watched it. Like,
I have no basis. I'm like, cool, that I hope that movie that I didn't see is better for the people who didn't like it.
I mean, you've saved so much time in your life not having watched a lot of these movies, which is just such a bummer for me. And I know that I'm gonna have to watch, and you're gonna say, no, you don't, Nick. You have a choice. You don't have to watch it.
I mean, yeah, that would be brought up, but remember, I hate watch plenty of stuff on my own. You know,
like Looney Tunes.
That's not a hate watch, my friend. That's a
horror watch.
Peek, that is a peek into the ether. The horrific ether in which no man can completely digest.
A bird or his furniture. The logistics behind that, I don't want to go too far back into that, but the logistics behind all of that cartoon, I can't.
It's loony. It's just lunacy.
It is very Looney Tunes. No, but okay, so I'm gonna watch it, but why do I care less and less the more I hear about it?
Probably because you're done hearing about it.
That's true. I just want it to be over and done with, because even after it releases, people are going to be. I think people are going to watch it and they're going to talk about it for a week, and then no one's going to talk about Justice League.
I mean, ever. Fair, I guess assessment of everyone involved, but there are people already, who before that movie has dropped or that re-edit of that movie has dropped, that have already made up their minds about it. It's just the way, unfortunately, of humanity. You will have some discussion, I think, in terms of like, oh, hey, I went into this with pretty low expectations, and this is what I think actually worked for this go around, as opposed to the original with all the weird edits. But like it's just with how volatile the discussion around this whole fucking thing has been since the original version dropped. I just don't see like this going any other way. We're gonna keep hearing about fucking Justice League for the end of time. Zack Snyder's
wait for the
reboot. Exactly, yeah. Zack Snyder's gonna be like, I'm rebooting my Justice League Snyder cut. It's the Snyder cut. Snyder.
Well, it's the new Blade Runner now, isn't it? It's got the theatrical cut. It's got the Zack Snyder cut.
Yeah. The Unicorn edition. Yeah. So anyway, and that's off the back of like some weird, because originally Snyder had said something about it possibly being a 4-part miniseries, but now it's sounding like no, it's just a movie that you can split up into 4 parts.
Like, it's one long movie. It's one long 4-hour movie.
Yeah, very, very strange, this whole ride. Like the whole lead up to this has been like, here's a statement. Here's a different statement contradicting that statement I just made a week ago.
Yeah. Zach, just shut up. It's me. It's Chad Warner, all right? Chad Warner Bros. All right? Let me tell you, man. All right? We wanted you to have this. We giving it to you. I'm Chad Warner.
Why is he turning into Keanu Reeves?
What? Not every guy who likes to talk like this is Keanu fucking Reeves. By the way, in Finding Ohana, they not only referenced Breathtaking, the Keanu meme, but also the fact that he's Hawaiian treasure because he was in Point Break. Like, I did not know that. He's Canadian, first of all. Also, second of all...
I mean, like, technically can't everyone claim him as a national treasure because he's a global treasure?
Fuck off. What's the next news story?
Next news story. Hey, some great news for Muppet fans, so that's myself included. On February 19th, all 5 seasons of the original Muppet Show will be dropping on Disney+.
Yes! Are they remastered? Did they specify? I just saw the headline.
I know seasons 4 and 5 are never available on DVD. And that the entire series has never been available digitally up until now.
Right. Like, are they going to? I mean, is it going to be a Simpsons thing where they just leave it in the regular aspect ratio, and
I think that's what's going to happen. Is they're just going to do with regular aspect ratio, especially because that whole Simpsons kerfuffle was just kind of a shit show, and like since they reintroduced the original aspect ratio on Disney Plus, anytime I watch The Simpsons on there, it's always in the original. Like, if you're gonna cut off some of the bits, like it's completely pointless.
Yeah,
like I'm fine watching with little black bars on my screen to get the joke. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about remastering, so I am assuming it is just gonna be in its original.
That's okay. Yeah. I'm alright with that.
But yeah, very very excited. It was they had the Muppets Now show that they released a little while ago, a couple months back. I think around November is when the first one dropped.
Yeah,
or first season dropped, and it was pretty ho hum. There were a couple bits in there that were funny, but it just they kind of did the same thing over and over again. So I am looking forward to at least having the originals to go back and watch, just because a lot of people forget just how kind of weird the Muppets were back at
they could get away with a lot more because they had no expectation for it.
I mean, it was a puppet show, but a lot of the stuff they had on there was ostensibly for adults. You know, that's why it was so popular, is because it basically got through any age bracket. You know, there was something for everyone. So yeah, very, very excited for that.
I'm excited. I want them to announce they're bringing back the Muppets Office type show that they had on ABC.
They're not doing that.
I know they're.
Sorry to tell you.
I'm so sad because that was such a perfect format to both introduce and reestablish these Muppets in a funny and comedic way that was already established to be a great format with The Office, with Parks and Rec, with all of these other shows.
Did you see that tweet from Topher Grace?
No. I don't follow Topher Grace on Twitter.
I don't either, but it was like a month or so ago, and he was responding to, it was like, either a tweet from the Miss Piggy account or a news story or something. And it was basically like referencing the fact that I guess in that show he showed up and he and Miss Piggy dated.
Oh, yeah.
And so he was like, I'm glad to see Miss Piggy has moved on. We only did God, I don't even remember the exact wording, but it like implied that he had
sex with Miss
Piggy. Yeah. It was one of those moments where I was like, not sure about this internet thing, man. I just
Maybe we should just restart. Maybe we should shut it all down. I don't know. I don't about with Eddie Brock and with Miss Piggy. I think I remember that tweet, and I had just totally dismissed it because I blanked it out of my memory because I didn't want to think of the implications
don't need that.
of him fucking Miss Piggy.
Yeah. So yeah, I do. What I find interesting about this is I don't know if you recall, back before they dropped Muppets Now, there was also talk of doing a revamp of the original variety show, the show that they're dropping in February.
Yeah.
With Josh Gad producing, and for one reason or another, it was canceled, and they just went with Muppets Now instead. So I am curious to see if not only is this like finally, I'm able to watch this digitally, it's more readily available. If this is one of those things where they're gauging interest based off of,
I was just about to say, yeah.
So should be interesting to see what happens down the pipeline. I hope it leads to more. Muppets have been pretty hit or miss in terms of critical response for the last decade or so.
Well, the last film that they released was back in 2013?
Most Wanted was
Muppets. 2014, March 2014.
Yeah, so it's been a minute. We'll see what happens, and hopefully more Muppets, but if not, then at least we have the original to look forward to.
Yeah, and they're still around.
They always be around. Yeah, in one way or another. So moving on, last time around, we did a news story about how Godzilla vs. King Kong had been moved up to March 26th as a release date in theaters and HBO Max. It has now since been pushed back another week, so it'll be dropping on March 31st instead. No word on kind of why this is happening.
Yeah,
and it's got to be some sort of distribution haggling thing with Legendary, I would assume, or something or other. But worth noting that the release date outside of the U.S. is still the same, so that's what leads me to believe it's something to do with the streaming distribution rights in the U.S.
Yeah, and you can absolutely guarantee that their marketing department is fuck. Like they're just so pissed.
Yeah, which part of that they like a couple days or so before that story broke, they dropped a new trailer.
Yeah,
the trailer for Godzilla vs. Kong,
the one that's now infinitely memed all over the place.
yes, loving it. Yeah, trailer looks great. Very excited. Can't come soon enough. I'm ready for this dumb shit.
I'm already theorizing about what's going to happen, and I feel like the more and more I think about it, which you shouldn't with a Godzilla film or even a King Kong film. Don't. That's not what I did with King of Monsters, but I did anyway. And it ends up bringing down not the hype, but the enjoyment overall, at least for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's the way of the internet in this era, like as soon as something drops, you got people parsing trailers and interviews and shit to kind of stop the screen in
pause it right here.
0.03 seconds here. You can see what is in the smoke right here, and it's like I
know exactly what you're referencing to. I just hope people go see it and that they're excited for it and that they enjoy it so that we can see more.
Well, ideally, since they don't have to leave home, more people will watch this one as opposed to King of Monsters.
We'll see.
Yeah, very, very excited. Can't wait for that. So next up, we got all our delays. So I'm going to rattle off a couple here. First up, he got Uncharted and Ghostbusters Afterlife delayed. Ghostbusters was delayed from June 11th of 2021 to November 11th of 2021.
Slow down. It's delayed. Sorry.
And Uncharted has been pushed from July 16th, 2021 to February 11th, 2022. So that's quite a push.
Shit.
Especially, supposedly they were done with principal photography, so I'm not quite sure what that to me sounds like a push not based off of the state of things.
For Uncharted, right.
Yeah, it sounds like a push based on the state of the movie. And less on the state of the world.
Yeah, that seems more like a reshoot push.
Yeah.
If it's a full year, absolutely.
Yeah. So we got those two. Morbius, of course, is delayed again. Which, like, this is one of those ones where just last episode we had already talked about how it's delayed till October, and we were like, oh, hey, that actually makes sense because,
that's a perfect time. Yeah.
It has now been delayed until January 21st of 2022.
Oh my god.
2022. That is almost 2 years.
By the way, the film The Little Things, he filmed after Morbius.
Yeah.
Like they completed pre-production, filming, production, and then post-production all in the meantime from Morbius being supposedly finished and then released. So it's funny to see Hollywood
well, they
move stuff around. It's just
studio execs always have like their reasons for pushing certain things over others, right? You do your market values and your expectations. Like how much would we expect to get back off this movie if it was in theaters, as opposed to, or in theaters later as opposed to in theaters now, and that sort of thing. So clearly Morbius is one of those movies.
Do you also have Black Widow in that list?
I do not. Was that delayed again?
No, but Black Widow is just another Marvel film. I'm just I'm roping both of them in as of right now.
Last I heard, Black Widow was still set for the last date it was delayed to, which I believe was April or May of this year.
May 7th.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So that's like basically a full year from its original release date. Whereas opposed to Morbius, which I think this is like its third or fourth delay.
Which is odd. It makes you think, is this this isn't Marvel, this is Sony pushing this, right? Right.
It's Morbius is made through Sony, not Marvel Studios. I believe Marvel Studios has had some input.
I'm Marvel,
but not to the extent of like the Spider-Man Tom Holland movies. Yeah, very very interesting that
so quickly after they mentioned, hey, it's going to be in October, and then like a few days later, oh, it's actually going to be in January.
So I will say one way to explain this is the fact that because of the way the studios, determine release dates and all that, if one movie gets delayed, all the others have to be pushed, most likely, because you don't want overlap and competing between two of your movies, right?
Right.
You don't want to release Morbius and fucking Uncharted at the same time because the cross section of viewers who are most likely to go see both of those movies is quite large. So that's generally why something like this, where we got a delay 2 weeks ago for Morbius, we're now getting another one because we saw that Uncharted and Ghostbusters Afterlife delayed this go round. That's just my assumption. I don't know for a fact. It's just what I'm assuming happened. But moving on from those delays, we still have more, unfortunately. No Time to Die has once again been delayed till October 8th now. Still this year, but further on. Quiet Place 2. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
This is actually the first time I'm hearing of this.
Yes, yeah.
That's right before my birthday.
Yeah.
Am I about to get James Bond right before my birthday?
Provided you can go into a movie theater, sure.
I mean, I'll get vaccinated out the ass. I put all of
Just get
it in my
the
butt.
arm, man. You don't have to do that. I don't think that's as effective.
I just want 007 in my veins. Put it in my veins.
Put it in.
Stop staring at me and saying put it in. That's odd. That's great though. I'm still glad that it's this year because I'm so fucking sick. Like all the other release date pushes, whatever. But James Bond, I've been waiting a long time for.
Right. Yeah. So there's that. He's coming. Down the line. But
it's Daniel Craig. Like, hold on. I just want to get out of this James Bond role. Just let them recast it. But they can't because they can't release this fucking movie.
So moving on. A Quiet Place 2 has also been delayed now to September 17th. So a little before James Bond, actually. Got a nice little lineup there. And then we had a couple of Disney / 20th Century Fox subsidiary delays, as it were, even though 20th Century Fox is no longer a thing, but that's just what I still call them. But the biggest one being The Kingsman has been delayed to August 20th. In this same story, they also talk about a Bob's Burger movie being delayed. One, I didn't even know this was a thing. Yeah. So when I saw it was delayed, I was like, oh shit, well now I gotta be bummed about a movie I didn't even know existed until now. More so because not only was it delayed, it was taken off the release slate entirely. So it wasn't even given a set release date.
Wow.
It's just gone. Now, that being said, slates, of course, can change at the drop of a hat, especially nowadays. As you can see, we've done like 6 delay stories in a row here. So it's not to say that it's gone forever, but what most likely it means is it's not very high on their priority list in terms of rescheduling, which means they're going to wait to see where all their other movies, i.e. Black Widow, Eternals, that kind of stuff, where they fall.
I keep forgetting about Eternals too. Is that still this year?
Yeah, still this year.
That's still this year?
I believe so. Yeah.
They are so excited, and I'm talking as Kevin Feige or the board of trustees or directors, whatever you want to fucking call them, for Marvel, the creative genius behind it. They're all just so excited for Eternals. Like I think they are expecting huge things from this movie.
I'm looking up Eternals on Google, and the first thing that's popping up, okay, that looks more. Fucking Google needs to fix its shit, because the first release date that pops up is February 12th of 2021. I'm like, that can't be right.
That's not, no. I'm on Wikipedia and it's showing November 5th.
November is what IMDb is saying further down, but that was a...
Yeah.
It was a weird feeling there. It's like, are we like a month, less than 2 weeks out of a MCU film and I didn't know about it?
And no one's talking about it at all?
No one's talking about it, yeah. Yeah, I do know what you're talking about with them being very excited to see Eternals get dropped, because I did read an interview, I think this last week, with Kevin Feige saying something along the lines of it was the best pitch he's ever heard. Which is fucking nuts.
Yeah. Considering the movies that we've had in the past, Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor, the other ones.
All 20 of the other ones.
It's like 24, 25
2023 with Far From Home, because that was the end of the Infinity Saga.
That's right.
Yeah, so... that's the end of delays. There are other ones, but those are probably the biggest at the moment. Right. So moving on from there, a Harry Potter TV series is apparently in development at HBO Max. No word on story details, casting, directing, anything like that. It is just in development.
No thanks. I know we talk about it every single time we mention Harry Potter at this point. It's weird because I definitely want to be on the side of... I love the franchise. We both love the franchise. Harry Potter in general. don't like don't like her. Don't have to say her name, but you know who I'm talking about. I don't want her involved at all, which is odd because you never want to really separate the creator from the creation, especially when you enjoy the creation so much.
Yeah, I mean it's OSC, for the modern age, as it were, but she did it herself. She OSC'd herself, and I guess for those who are not aware, OSC, Orson Scott Card,
yes,
with his issues.
H.P. Lovecraft. I mean,
yeah.
Ted Kaczynski.
Now, Lovecraft is interesting at this point because we have seen kind of a 180, not of him, of course, because he's dead.
Right. He can't say anything.
He's just known for kind of the piece of shit that he is at this point. But the genre as a whole has kind of been twisted on its head to now be anti-Lovecraft, as it were. So it's one of those interesting things where you see the work now working against the creator.
Especially with Lovecraft Country being the most recent example.
Mm-hmm, yeah, for sure.
But it's like if George R.R. Martin came out and said he hates dogs.
I don't even know if that tracks. That's
everyone
I think that's a pretty minimizing way to put it.
I was trying to be like something that wasn't already taken, and also wasn't super offensive to where everyone turned off the podcast immediately. But you know what I mean.
It's like if Martin came out, it was like, "Hey, I hate people for existing the way that they are,
right?
For being human beings."
It's like if Tolkien came out and said, "I hate tall people."
Yeah.
Well, again, minimizing it and using a very popular fantasy writer, but you know what I'm saying. It's if somebody to bring it back. Harry Potter TV show. Don't need it. You had the universe of you had the Harry Potter. Let's equate it to the Luke Skywalker saga because of how similar they are. But let's use that as the saga. Those 8 films, those 7 books. You tried expanding the universe with the Fantastic Beasts movies. That didn't fucking work. So what are you gonna do? So what are you gonna do to excite both a new and a not fanatical, but the people who enjoyed the previous books and are willing to stick by the author's work? How are you going to entice them into a new TV series?
My guess would be, in terms of probably getting the most eyes on it, would just be a straight-up television adaptation of the books. I don't know if that's what it's going to be, of course, because we have no details. But, yeah, it is interesting to see. Originally we just kind of had the sputtering of Fantastic Beasts, as it were, the wet fart of Crimes of Grindelwald, as it were, to be like, you probably should not have touched that.
Don't touch that wet fart.
You probably should have just let that sit for a minute before going back to the well, which of course studios are never going to do because that's just you're thinking you're leaving money on the table, right?
And they're still working on the 3rd film, aren't they?
Supposedly, yeah, because I think it's been confirmed at this point that Mads Mikkelsen is now Grindelwald, yeah. But now you have like all the added nonsense of like JK just being kind of a waste paper basket of a person, and not really wanting anything to do with her. We saw, if you saw anything about that Harry Potter role-playing game like a year ago, it was like the immediate response to that was, hey, you dropped this trailer like the week of that stupid fucking letter she wrote.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to fucking do with this. And then you got the devs kind of like scrambling to be like, she didn't really have a whole lot of input on this. Please don't mail us.
Please don't hate us. There's actually people who are getting like they don't care, like they hate her, but they want to work on this game because they love the universe, that kind of thing. The 3rd film is slated for July 15th, 2022, so next year.
Yeah.
So they're already in pre-production on this.
Yeah. So anyway, all that to say is apparently they are still doing Harry Potter stuff. We'll see what that turns out to be. But yeah, just kind of unfortunately always a dim cloud over anything to do with the series at this point. Because yeah, I mean, like nostalgia wise, like I grew up on the series and I love the books and the movies, but yeah, it's really hard to muster any sort of enjoyment from it at this point.
Can we talk about The Matrix 4?
Sure, yeah.
That's coming out this year.
Yeah, it's going to be on HBO Max.
Yeah. Like we're getting The Matrix 4.
Yeah.
Does that not blow your fucking mind?
I've come to terms with The Matrix 4 existing at this point, I think, just because it's been nonstop, like, who's being cast, who's on set, that kind of thing for, like, the entire time that it's been announced. So yeah. It's like, it's now in my vernacular that there's going to be a fourth Matrix movie. Fifth, if you count the Animatrix.
I do. It's half of that movie is canonical. Yes. Half.
Wait. Sixth, if you count Enter the Matrix.
I don't, because technically it takes place in between 2 and 3.
It's still canon,
and it's a fucking video game.
It's still canon,
and all of the film scenes don't technically add up to create its own.
Still canon.
Okay, so Matrix 4, and we're almost done, folks. Just fucking, you're already strapped in. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, great actor. He's cast. We already got Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, Jada Pinkett Smith coming back as Niobe, so alright, it's canon. The Merovingian's coming back.
I don't think Fishburne is on.
No, not technically yet. I think, which is odd. It's very odd, because he would say yes in a second. If he said yes to John Wick 3, he would have said yes to this. Neil Patrick Harris, Priyanka Chopra, who's great, Jessica Henwick, Jonathan Groff. Yeah.
I do that, but like, dude has fucking range, man. You can see that in Mindhunter.
I mean, if they're willing to create a side Aladdin spin-off film based on his character, just because let's be honest, Disney's like, hey, let's make this movie with Jonathan Groff's character because he's great in Hamilton and he has range. Yeah. So let's do it. But no one else is like,
I really don't want to see that.
I didn't want to see this Aladdin, so why would I want to see this? It's just, it's phenomenal that we are getting Matrix 4 this year.
Yeah. Of legend.
Yeah, December 22nd. So you're going to be able to watch The Matrix 4 on Christmas Day.
Oh.
We'll see.
If you can hold out that long.
If you can survive this pandemic that long.
I just meant waiting for Christmas. Jesus Christ.
Is that all that we have for the news?
There is not. No.
Sweet fuck. I'm sorry.
Real quick, there's one actually kind of big one that we still have left, but real quick, there is also a Willy Wonka prequel set for March 17th, 2023. I don't know why. They just keep on doing this. Just
who they have in the front running for that?
All I've seen are like fan casts. I haven't seen any like legitimate.
Timothy Chalamet and hold on. Wonka prequel, which by the way, we already got a prequel. Thanks.
We did, and yeah, this sounds like it's going to be the worst part of that prequel.
Yeah, it's literally only that. It's all of the part that you hated about the Tim Burton Willy Wonka film. It's all that. And then who else? It was Timothy Chalamet and Tom Holland.
Oh yeah, okay, I do remember. Yeah, because they're the only two we can cast.
They're too young. They're like the two young in actors right now. So those are who people are fan casting right now. So.
Whatever. And then we also got a Spy Kids reboot apparently in development from Robert Rodriguez, the original creator.
Why, dude? Why? Why?
Why not? Oh, you actually know what we are heroes. We could be heroes. What is that?
We Could Be
Netflix
Heroes
show that just dropped. That is from Robert Rodriguez, and
Yes.
it's basically along the same lines as like a Sky High or something like that. That's why that shit is popular.
I mean, he used to say that he was making these films for his kids, which I get.
That was the reason for the original Spy Kids.
His kids are grown up. His kids are our age.
He was doing Grindhouse movies, essentially, and then he wanted something that his kids were able to watch, and he dropped the phenomenal Spy Kids. I cannot tell you how many times I actually watched Spy Kids.
Have you watched them recently?
No, fuck no. Of course not.
Well, that tells you a lot about the quality of that film, doesn't it?
I don't want to ruin that memory. Keep that in the vault, man.
And did you ever watch the fourth one?
I think I stopped at 3. Spy Kids 3D.
They always get worse. And the fact that he made a quasi-sequel to Shark Boy and Lava Girl of all of his films.
Yeah.
And I think he just used that as an excuse. Like, he's like, I'm going to tie it into Shark Boy and Lava Girl, but only Lava Girl is going to come back because Taylor Lautner is, quote-unquote, too good for this franchise to come back.
I mean, hey, he's got good peace of mind up here. So
I guess, but let's look at the last time Taylor Lautner was in a film.
That's what I'm saying. He's all good mentally, like he's fine. He doesn't need that. If he feels good about where he's at, then good for him.
He shouldn't. Because the last thing he acted in was Cuckoo, which was the TV series on Netflix, and that show was terrible. And The Ridiculous Six, which we all remember, and how fucking racist that was. Scream Queens. He really hasn't done anything for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
3 years.
Anyway, I'm gonna move on because we're running out of time here.
Oh, yeah, sorry,
I still got two more to go. The second to last one is big in the streaming world. Peacock has officially acquired the U.S. streaming rights to the WWE Network. Now, obviously, whether or not you're interested in that depends on what kind of person you are. But it's big in the sense that WWE Network was its own streaming platform. And for one reason or another, they decided that it was more profitable for them to just sell the streaming rights to Peacock. And you can look at this as a pretty huge value get for them. Because now all those subscribers that were over at WWE Network are going to be jumping ship to theirs, where they have, The Office and something else.
I mean, that's their biggest get, really.
Yeah. But it's interesting how, you've seen these different streaming services kind of go their own path on how they want to bring a value to their service, right? You have Netflix and Disney who are kind of focused more on developing new content, right? And then you got even CBS All Access, which I think further in the year is going to be switching over to Paramount Plus. It's a HBO Max situation, as it were. But yeah, CBS All Access, for better or worse, has quite a few of its own in-house programming that it's launched. And I know NBC has something on Peacock, but for the life of me, I can't think of what it is. Was that Brave New World, or was that?
It's Brave New World. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an original series on them. Yeah.
Right. So they kind of have that, but it seems like they're more leaning in on their already established docket, or as it were, or licenses, and then acquiring more. So should be interesting to see how they continue in terms of.
They also have two different models of how to watch their streaming platform, because they have free content and live TV, and then they have the $7.99, I think, is like or $6.99.
They actually have 3 models, I believe. It's the free, the $4.99 without or with commercials.
Oh, okay.
And then $7.99 or $9.99 without commercials. So yeah, they're kind of doing their own cable thing over there.
He can't take the cable out of the Peacock, I guess.
No. And then last up, of course, we couldn't go this podcast without talking about the stock market.
Woo! Yeah! Stonk, 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 stonk. Everybody, stomp. I'm tired, man. It's hot. I shouldn't have worn this jacket. Damn it.
He's silly. Yeah, well, while Nick's getting all hot and bothered by stonks, so if you've been following the just verifiable circus that has been going on for the last week and a half or so, longer if, you go way to the beginning, there's been some stock stuff going on with the likes of GameStop and BlackBerry and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, included in one of those was AMC. So, I don't really know how to start off describing this, but just kind of like assuming that you have seen, about 5 different videos explaining what's going on with short selling and all that.
Yeah.
Trying to explain it to you. Basically, where AMC comes in is because of all of this, they have seen about $600 million worth of debt just vanish. By way of their debtor taking the debt that they had accrued, and this debt firm is Silver Lake, I believe. Not that it matters. All debtors have like the same boring ass name.
It's got to be like the most boring name because it has to be the most innocuous name. Like they don't want to be on the front page of any newspaper.
Well, and they gotta be able to trick you.
Yeah.
Like they call you or mail you some shit like, oh, what is Silver Lake?
Silver
Lake sounds like a
International.
retirement.
Ooh, free debit card for this guy.
I hope you're not just signing up for debit cards for random companies.
No, I'm not in debt.
Yeah, so Silver Lake's, let me make sure I get that right before we go on. Yeah, Silver Lake had about $600 million of debt from AMC in their portfolio. And AMC, up until like a week ago, was like, yeah, I don't really know if we're going to survive all this. We're on the verge of declaring bankruptcy. Just because of all the COVID shit, I don't really know how we're going to get out of this. Then on top of that, you had the whole HBO Max streaming deal, which everybody was in a tizzy about. So people were pissing their pants, essentially, about a week ago.
Graphic image.
They can now change out their pants because what Silver Lake did was they took that $600 million of debt and instead of just holding on to that, they sold it because of the hike that all the Redditors have essentially
all
gained.
those amateurs.
Yeah, sure, we'll call them that. Have gained the system. They sold it at a higher price,
right? To
basically buy stock in the company that had a debt to them,
boosting the value of the company,
right? Theoretically boosting the value of the money they were getting, because if you see a stock keep climbing, you're like, well, we can make more off of just the stock options of that instead of just having their debt,
right?
Of course, that doesn't seem to be going the way that they wanted. It's been, in very small terms, volatile. So it looks like they're actually kind of on track to be losing money with this deal, Silver Lake says. But AMC has come out on top because now they don't have that debt, and they're talking about like how this has probably saved their asses for like decades to come. Which is nuts. AMC was saved by a fucking meme.
You know what's funny is you have to think of all of the other movie theater franchises that are absolutely kicking themselves that they're not involved in this at all.
Well, and like to be fair, AMC, they're not a golden fucking company or they're not full of angels. They got their own fucking assholes in there.
Yeah.
But it is like it's a funny situation. But yeah, those other companies that don't necessarily have the option of being publicly traded, like those small theaters that have been really struggling. It's probably just more confirmation for them, unfortunately, that unless you're a big shot in the industry like AMC and getting almost kind of a golden parachute akin to the fucking bailouts, a decade ago with the recession and all that.
That was more than a decade ago.
Yeah, well, I was rounding down. um, yeah, it's fucking wild.
I think I'm happy for them as a movie theater lover.
Yes.
I want them to exist after this pandemic because I want to go back and watch movies. But
yeah, for sure, for all the people who were employed by them,
Oh yeah, for sure. Them
even
too.
if they were, they had the furloughs quite a while ago. I don't even know if those are still standing in actuality. Like, they could have just been laid off. But if they are still furloughed, which I hope is that's what's happening and not the alternative, that they have all been laid off. That's probably great news for everyone who was standing behind a counter at one point, or like that was their source of income. It's reassuring, I would imagine, to know that your company that you work for is not going to be going under, at least in the near future.
Yeah.
Unless some really dire shit. If they come out of this as clean as they did and still somehow manage to fuck it up, like, I don't even know what to say.
Anything can happen, especially with the stock market.
The magic of the stock market.
Absolutely.
Stonks.
Zach, is that all we have?
That is all the news, my friend.
Oh my gosh, Zach. We covered so much ground today. We watched so many things, and we talked about so many news stories. But if people happen to disagree with my summation of boss level, or if people just hate your opinion about the Muppets, how would they be able to contact us? They're a Muppet hater.
Yeah. If they feel either one of those ways, you can email us oh God, I'm just all flustered now because you said something just so utterly disgusting to me. You can email us at either nickisanoob@lightscameranonsense.com or get that good old
Nick
timely gamer lingo in there. Or you can email us at iamdeadinside@lightscameranonsense.com.
Okay, hold on. I am dead inside. I'm dead inside at lightscameranonsense.com. That's perfect. Yeah.
Put that on the poster.
Please. But this has been Lights Camera Nonsense, keeping you updated despite our best efforts. Make sure to tune in every 2 weeks by hitting the bell icon if you're watching us on YouTube, or just rating us at the highest you can on any podcast platform that you're listening to us on. That'd be perfect.
Subscribing would probably be a good.
And subscribing
good
also as
alternative
well,
to that.
and liking and doing all the things that you normally would to help promote our podcast. That would definitely help us out. Zach. Fucking Zach.
Good night and good luck.
Thanks for tuning in. For all the news, reviews, and what else?
How do you do?
Thanks for tuning in. Again. We will see you next time.
Bye.
I lost it. Lost control. So you think alpacas and llamas are similar to, like, it's like a crocodile alligator situation?
Alligator, yeah. Alpacas have more teeth.
The sharper teeth, longer nose.
Yes, yeah. I think it's the opposite. Alligators have the shorter nose, right?
I just know that I don't want to be eaten by any of them.
Definitely not a llama.
No, they chew a lot.
And then they spit you out with disrespect.